With this name, it's impossible not to think of a Tolkien high. Musically, I honestly wasn't sure what to expect, except perhaps a kind of psychedelic stoner/doom. What you get is slightly different. More based on death metal, what you get is death/doom metal based on, yes, stoner and maybe even sludge. The most interesting thing is that this is a one-man band, which even has an organic feel that is sometimes lacking in this type of project. It's not memorable, but it's interesting nonetheless, not as much as the presentation photo of Veralden Almai, the musician behind it all.
The various facets of Blax are interesting. One of the first sensations we get is that we're dealing with something close to Marilyn Manson. Not in form, but in the same kind of evoked atmosphere. But then there's also a strong gothic metal feeling, reminiscent of the 69 Eyes, as well as a certain Nick Cave vibe, a kind of murder ballads but metallic. If it's hard enough trying to figure out what the hell Meraviglia sounds like after this description, good. It's so you can see what we felt listening to this album, which was a nice surprise for combining things that actually go very well together.
White Mare is an international project that brings us death/doom bordering on funeral doom of the highest quality. It manages to capture that romantic vein without being overdramatic or sappy, and it does it in a sublime way, reminiscent of the old 90s, with long themes, emotional intensity, and a huge weight to go with it. A debut album with a certain low profile to it, we're not sure what the follow-up to this work will be, and given that its musicians are in other projects and bands, there's doubt as to its priority, but just from what's here, we have a good piece of work that deserves a sequel.
A female power trio from Serbia who are making a great start to their discography. This is a powerful speed/thrash metal album that manages to break with the formula while keeping much of it the same. In traditional terms, there's a thrash metal feel with hints of speed, while vocally there's a dose of unexpected melody that even harks back to more hard and heavy fields. This flows into 8 songs where the purest spirit of heavy metal lives on in all its splendor, like something new and refreshing, a lovely paradox that we can't get enough of. Not wanting to make hypes where they don't exist and trying their best to remain neutral, but failing splendidly, this album marks the start of 2023 on a positive note. It's impossible not to be infected by songs like On the Judgmente Day, where all you want to do is shake your head and shout metal.
It's impossible not to think about listening to this album by the Russians' Lethal Outcome, an English translation for something my Western keyboard can't reproduce, at a time when death metal was still fresh and fascinating the underground all over the world, especially in Europe, of course. When Sepultura were becoming a name that everyone wanted to follow. It's therefore something that may sound dated to today's fans, but which still manages to be minimally effective, even without making your blood boil. What some may point out as limitations, others will say is vintage, but somewhere in the middle is the reality of what is represented here.
It's always good to be introduced to bands with considerable careers that have passed us by in recent times. In this case we're talking about the Russians Grimorium Verum, who bring us melodic and symphonic black metal in line with the commonplaces established by bands like Cradle of Filth, Old Man's Child, and Dimmu Borgir. I have to say that the latter two are the ones that come to mind the most, but basically what we get is what would result from describing the sound of these bands to third parties. Not really specific moments, just sensations, although some riffs do sound like COF or Dimmu. Something that black metal purists won't find the least bit interesting and that nostalgic fans of the aforementioned bands might be curious about. To those we say you won't be disappointed, although it's not guaranteed that you'll find absolutely memorable songs here.
We were fascinated by this project, which brings together gothic, pop and folk sensibilities in equal measure. By gothic, we mean the sound that comes from mixing it with metal, although we don't have anything exactly metal here, rather than the post-punk that underpins the style. Saturn's voice is captivating and instrumentally the music sounds really catchy. Produced entirely by the duo, this first release managed to grab our attention.
One-man band from Canada with ties to Serbia, Tishina means silence in Serbian, brings us an album although it doesn't reach half an hour in length with 5 melodic death/doom metal songs that are extremely tasteful. It's exactly what you're looking for when you want to combine melodic death metal with the melancholy of doom metal. Without being too boring or sappy, it's just right for fans of names like October Tide. Highly recommended for those who have been longing for good, catchy, melodic doom metal.